Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Yoga Chat. I'm your host, Montana.
I'm your host, May.
And today we have a very exciting guest, Mr. Rick Jahr. He was born in Minneapolis, lives in Pittsburgh, from Minneapolis, lives in Pittsburgh. He's been practicing yoga for about 19 years on and off, as we all do. And a fun fact about Rick is that he goes to a ton of concerts, which we actually talk about a lot. So I'm excited to start this conversation. Welcome, Rick. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you. Good morning, ladies.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Have you ever been on a podcast before?
Nope.
First timer.
Yeah, I guess back in 2012, I was up in Minneapolis for the summer, and some guy was, I don't know, maybe it was a podcast. He recorded a little interview with me, but I don't know that it was really podcast material.
Well, if we're basing it off of like statistics and legitness, that's a word. I don't know if this is a podcast.
I don't know if this is a podcast yet. Someday.
Another fun fact about Rick is that Rick was actually the first person we asked to be on the podcast. And at first he was like, what? And then time passed and he realized like, oh, this isn't so scary. I assume that's something along the lines of what he realized. And so we were like, let's circle back and ask Rick again. He's like, yes, I'm down. So we're very excited to have Rick on. We've wanted to have him on. We know Rick because he practices at Yoga 6 with us. And honestly, this was not planned, but it was just divine timing. Originally, when we asked Rick, it was before teacher training started. And now we're in the middle of teacher training and Rick is going through that program. So I'm happy that, the universe told Rick to say no at first so that now we can have a even more in-depth conversation about the yogas since he's
Yes, indeed.
knee deep in teacher training.
Before we
ahead.
get into anything, first of all, we always ask about your astrology your signs, but on top of that, I also want to hear your favorite concert of all time that you've ever attended.
Great question. God. That's so hard. Okay, well, astrology signs, I have them written down because I need to be prepared for that one. All right. My sun is Taurus.
Okay.
Moon,
Tracks.
Aquarius.
Weirdo.
Rising, Libra.
Wow,
nice. Okay.
That's fun.
And then this medium coli, is that what it is? It's Cancer.
No idea. We need to ask our astrology gurus about that one. But yeah. That's awesome. That's a really great, that's a fun
I'm an Aquarius moon too. I'm an Aquarius moon. We're weird. We're weird and emotional, but people don't know we're emotional apparently because we hide it.
That's right.
Yep.
And moon isn't the moon. Sorry, not the moon. Pluto is an Aquarius now. And on this yoga retreat that I was just on this past week, I could feel it. We were getting weird. So I'm excited for the rest of the world to keep getting weird, like you Aquarians. That's a word.
Yeah, we need to be weird in like the cool way and not in the insane way.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, not that there's anything wrong with being insane, but when I say insane, I mean like the mean way. And when I say weird, I mean the cool way.
Yeah, like where you can have like real conversations with people and be like vulnerable and like crying happy tears. And it's like, wow, this is crazy that we're like humans having a connection. Oh my God. So now that we know your sun, moon, rising, and whatever the fourth thing was that you said, which is in Cancer, which is really cool. Will you think about maybe top 3 if you can't think of just one favorite concerts?
Most memorable would probably be Radiohead.
Yeah. Which one?
I think that was Columbus, like 2017, thereabouts. I saw Björk in Iceland, in Reykjavik, and I saw her at Red Rocks.
Wow.
Those were really awesome. And then I don't know. I saw a show here recently since I moved to Pittsburgh, and it was Zakir Hussain. He plays tabla, Indian drums, and a woman on Veena, which is kind of like a sitar, like type, like Indian guitar situation, and another woman on violin, and it was mind blowing.
Were you on drugs?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Speaking of getting weird.
Did you go to the Radiohead show that was in the Bloom, the one that's near Cleveland? Is it like what's the name of that venue? It's outside.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see that one. I went to what was at Ohio State in Columbus.
Okay. The one we went to that was in I keep calling it the Bloom Center, but it's somewhere around Cleveland. But we were like amongst this group of people that were just like so high and having the best time of their lives, and their energy just so rubbed off, and we were like losing our minds. That was like the best show of all time. And they played House of Cards as one of the
Yeah.
encores, and he came on stage and he was like, this is most definitely a love song, and everybody just like screamed and shouted, and you could see little hearts just floating up from the crowd. It was so good. I loved that show. And then when they came to I don't know if it was PPG or if it was like still the Civic Arena at that point. I think it might have been PPG. That was maybe 2019 around then. But they played Nude, and when he played Nude, the whole venue was silent, and all you could hear was that piano part, and then everybody lit their lighters, and I just like did a 365 around the entire place, and I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay.
Yeah, Radiohead
Now that we
shows
got
are
that out of the
pretty
way.
amazing.
Hell
May,
yeah.
is that one of the concerts that you think about when you compare like the energy to a yoga class, the energy of a yoga class to a concert where everyone's
Yes,
just like,
actually, because
how
like
does it
you
happen?
could just feel that everyone was like on the same exact wavelength.
Yeah.
Everybody, no matter who they were, where they came from, their opinions, their beliefs, like everybody was just there on this ride in this wave. And Tom York, I'm pretty sure, is part alien or something. He's just the weirdest fucking guy. And just watching him perform is like mesmerizing because he's just bizarre and beautiful and odd. But yeah, everybody, the energy in that room was absurd. And you
I
know what I
noticed
mean?
that in a lot of concerts. Like most concerts that I go to are concerts that, if you love the band, you go to the show.
Yes.
And the energy in the crowd doesn't matter who the people are.
Right.
Everybody's like there for the one purpose, and it's just the whole vibe is the same. It's just super chill. It's excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We always talk about that versus like when you attend, you go to Y6 Hot a lot. And if you're listening and you don't know Yoga 6, Y6 Hot is like a set sequence class. So like the actual class itself is the same every single time, but you could go to like 50 of them and they all have different feelings. And I always compare that to concerts where like when you go to a yoga class and you just feel the vibe and everybody's in it together. And I'm like, I wish I could study that. I want to put those little patches on people's brains and like watch a machine and the wavelengths of the brain waves coming through. Cause I want to know what creates that makes everybody get to that place. Cause it doesn't happen all the time. But when it does, it's like magical.
That's what makes it special, is that it doesn't happen all the time.
Exactly.
That's one thing I do love about the set sequence is that, it's the same sequence every time, but even, two different teachers between Kaja and May and the two of you, yours is, I think, more like energetic, and Kaja's is like so chill. But it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And it's just completely different vibes. It all depends on what you want that, throughout the week,
Kaja's classes in general always make me feel like when I'm leaving, I did drugs. Speaking of drugs.
Yeah.
May posted this picture of her, Kaja, and someone else on Instagram before Kaja's class a few weeks ago. It was like, about to take a Kaja class. And the filter was like rainbowy. And I was like, wait, why does that actually depict how a Kaja class makes me feel?
It really does. It really does.
I mean, after that, as soon as I'm like in supine and twist, I can feel myself falling asleep already.
Exactly.
Yes.
100%.
For those of you listening, oh, sorry, go ahead, May.
Me and Rick were both in there yesterday at 9 a.m. and she played Shine On You Crazy Diamond for Shavasana. And like I never thought to play it, but the first like 5 minutes of that song are completely like there's no lyrics. So it's the smartest thing ever. And I was like, I can't believe I've never thought of that. But as soon as I heard that little bit come on in the beginning, I was like, oh, she did that. She fucking did that. And I was
turned
like,
off the radio, hadn't even apologized to you.
I know.
Sorry, May.
My heart started bursting out of my chest. If anybody's going to turn off Radiohead, it's okay if they're putting Pink Floyd on instead.
For anyone that's listening, Kaja, we're talking about, her name's Kaja Moon Kelly. You can find her on Instagram, Kaja Moon. Can't remember what underscores or what, but Kaja is Kajja, and she's
She's a
Amazing.
an
treasure.
alien. Yeah.
An
All-
alien treasure, beautiful alien treasure. And her energy is like a piece of warm apple pie
Yeah. Yes.
with
it
ice
is.
cream on top, with vanilla ice cream on top.
And just like so many other people we've mentioned on this podcast, we will eventually have Kaja on here because
Hell yes.
she has a really crazy story that I've only scratched the surface of learning. So, all right. Well, enough about Kaja. We'll leave Kaja for the episode.
Enough
Rick,
about Kaja.
yeah, about
Kaja.
Kaja. She's gonna listen to this and be like, "Oh my god."
What the hell are you guys
I've
doing?
never heard anyone say my name so many times. So, Rick, will you go back a little bit and tell us a little background of who you are and where you come from before your yoga journey began?
Well, I grew up in Minneapolis. Um, and went to cooking school, became a cook, a chef, um, and went to a lot of concerts, and my getting into yoga was for all the wrong reasons. I was with a woman for 5 years, and we were young. I'm a young cook. She was doing her thing, teaching, and not yoga, but actually like teaching. And yeah, things, the relationship dissolved, and I kind of blamed it on her going to yoga because she had discovered this yoga, and I was out partying and, young cook. We're out drinking after work and all this. And she just kind of fell off of that train and jumped on a different one. And that was yoga. And we just kind of went our separate ways. But I wanted to get her back. So I was like, I better start doing yoga. So I'd go to her. So I went to that class. I went to Bikram class. I remember my first class. It was a nightmare. I'm in there. I went to Target. I got myself a yoga mat. I brought a beach towel. So I've got this set up. I'm wearing, the wrong shorts, and everybody's in there going through this class, and they're all just doing it. And I was just struggling, couldn't breathe. And I'm like, why am I here? But I liked the way it made me feel. I kept going, again, for the wrong reasons. I'm sure I was just torturing myself trying to get to that end point of being with the girl, but that never ended up happening. But I fell in love with the practice, and I did it for about a year, and then that kind of fell off. The restaurant industry kind of sucked me back into, with its grasp of partying and whatever. And I kind of let that go for a while. And I think about 4 years later, I had moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and was like, I need to get back into yoga. I feel like shit. And found a studio down there that did Bikram yoga. So I went there, did it for a little while, and the studio. So I don't know if you know anything about Bikram studios, but they're like only allowed to be Bikram studios.
Mhm.
They don't allow vinyasa. It's got to be like just that sequence. But for some reason, this woman she was able to do vinyasa. She did yin yoga, and so getting to that, she introduced me to yin yoga, and that like really just changed my entire world. That really brought me to, I don't know, something that I didn't know even existed, because I thought it was just supposed to be hot. You're supposed to like crush yourself and get in there and really work out. And she introduced me to it because she knew I liked holding the postures, and she knew what I did for a living, cooking, which is a lot of standing, bending. I mean, your mind is going crazy because you're trying to get all this food out at the exact same time. A lot of stress. And she introduced me to that, and it really just calmed me down. And I was still getting my yoga in. So did that. And then in 2012, on December 1st, 2012, I broke my leg. I had a got a tibial plateau fracture, riding a scooter, a 150cc moped type situation, and was laid up for 3 months, literally laying in bed, non-weight bearing, and basically had to like relearn how to walk. I've got 2 metal plates in my left leg, 13 screws that are still there to this day. My yoga practice before that was very consistent, comparable to what it is now. I couldn't go back to it immediately. When I did go back, probably 5 months after the accident, I couldn't do anything. It was like I had made all this progress, and I went all the way back, not to zero, but like to negative.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, really depressing. I went through a long period of depression trying to, just sit my ass between my heels. I used to go like lay all the way back. And now it was like I could barely bend my knee to 90 degrees. And so I was like, all this work I had put in basically just kind of went out the window, I felt. And so I kind of stopped doing that, but I eventually went back to the yin yoga. And that really, really helped with my mental state, dealing with the leg break and the healing process of it. And, it got me stretching out again. And now I've got, about as good a motion in my leg as I'm going to have. And it's all due to the yoga, because otherwise I would have just not done anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID hit. So that, my wife and I, who I met in Charlotte, we were going to move up to Pittsburgh. COVID hit. So we had to postpone that. Everything was shut down. So I do, a little bit of yoga and whatever, and at the house. Moved to Pittsburgh. Things are still kind of shut down. I'm not going to class. I'm not doing any yoga. My wife's finally like, look, dude, you need to go back to yoga. You need to go back. You're fucking up right now.
Good
You
wife.
need to get back to doing what you like to do. And she's actually the one that found Yoga 6. I think she was getting like things on her Facebook or something. And she's like, go to this place. And I'm like, I don't, whatever. I'll get around to it. So finally one night I'm hanging out with my next door neighbor, good friend of mine, also a member at Yoga 6, he and his fiance. And we're, sitting around probably drinking beer and whiskey and sitting around by a fire. Excuse me. And come home, it's a Sunday night. And I'm like, you know what? I am fucking up. This is ridiculous. So I look up the Yoga 6. All right, well, they've got hot yoga, perfect. Oh, they've got a class tomorrow morning at 9. So I sign up for monthly unlimited, because when I do it, I get the unlimited, because I can't just go to one class and judge, the place by the one class. So get the month unlimited. The next morning I woke up hungover as shit, and I went to May's 9 a.m. hot class. She played Led Zeppelin, Radiohead, and I fell in love.
You got
I
him
sucked
hooked.
you in without even knowing it. I sucked you in with my musical stylings.
Exactly. I was like, what the hell is going on right now? I'm like, is this yeah, it is Led Zeppelin. Radiohead? What is happening right now? This is the greatest thing. And I'll also say this too. From the beginning of my, yoga practice, it was Bikram and Yin. It was all just holding postures. In Charlotte, that studio, her name's Elaine. I talk about her all the time. That'll be
What's
it.
her last
That's for
name?
another time.
What's her last name?
Elaine Parker. She has
Okay.
a website. Fantastic. I love her. Anyway, they had vinyasa, so I'm like, oh, well, let me go try this vinyasa, power vinyasa thing. I got in there and I had no idea what was going on. I was like, is this yoga? Like, I don't even know I was so confused. Room full of women, and they're just crushing. They're moving so smoothly through all these flows, and I have no clue. So I did that, and I never went back. And then I kept doing my Bikram, and then I moved here, and I fell in love with the vinyasa. I just took, I guess it took May's 9 a.m.
Led Zeppelin
warrior sequence there in the hot class to get me going. But now I love it.
That's amazing. hearing you say that May's playlist, specifically Led Zeppelin, made you feel comfortable enough to be like, what's going on? And I want more of it. I'm
Yeah.
also emotional because I just got back from a yoga retreat, but I'm literally crying. I'm like, it just, that is fucking it, right? Like, that is why May talks about how I don't want to speak for her, but she's said to me before enough times that she sometimes will like toil with this like almost guilt of transitioning yoga into this modern day practice. And she finds different ways to justify almost why it's okay to play this music and be in these lights and create this experience that's totally different than what yoga originally was intended to be. But you explaining that and explaining that that's what sucked you into now practicing every day, multiple times a day at Yoga 6 and doing the teacher training
Yeah.
after practicing for almost 20 years or 20 years, we'll just call it 20 years because what the fuck's
Yeah.
19? Like that's it, May. And I hope that that can help you understand too, that you don't need to justify how you present this practice to people because it's perfect the way that you do. It's perfect. And we have Rick as a testament to that. And I'm crying. Thanks,
Jesus,
Led
It's
Zeppelin.
true though.
Get
I
your
mean,
shit together.
if
It
you
is
go to a
true.
concert, you go to a really good concert, it is, I mean, it can be, I mean, meditative. It sucks you in, it takes you, transports you to another world. And that's what yoga does. So why can't you mix the two? I don't see any problem
I
with that.
100% agree. I mean, everybody enjoys music to their own degree, but if you are like one of those people that can't get in the car without setting up your music before you go or take one like foot out of your house, like I am that person. I can't do anything unless I have my playlist ready, my walks, my whatever. And all of the
Yeah.
things they have in common. I love to drive. I love to walk. I love to do yoga. All of the things in common are that there's music playing. And
Yep.
so that's why, like, I love Kaja's class so much. You know, she's throwing Pink Floyd in Shavasana. She's got fucking Jimi Hendrix coming on during the warm up. And I'm like, what is happening? I love every minute of this. And I've had people talk to me about like my playlists and how like they have these memories of teachers they had 10 years ago who played Marilyn Manson one day. And they were just like, they thought it was so cool that they always remember that teacher. And a lot of people's like memories and good feelings they have tied to the yoga practice is about the music because it evokes emotion and it makes people feel things. And I think that that's part of, you know, like that journey of stepping onto your mat. You want to feel things, you want to feel good, you want to like get out of your head. And I totally think that if you're a music person or if you're any person, like having that right playlist going while it's happening, it definitely gets you there a little faster.
Yeah.
Totally. Have either of you guys seen the movie Soul?
No.
Is that the Pixar movie?
Yes.
I have
watched
not
it.
seen it.
Oh my gosh, neither of you guys. So that's your homework. I'm giving you homework after. And
Okay.
even though it's a Pixar movie, Rick, it's centered around a jazz pianist and
Oh, I know what you're
talks,
talking about.
yes, and talks about the flow state. And it's just so amazing. And I watched it on the plane on my way home yesterday. And I was like, I'm going to make this a personal tradition to watch this movie anytime I have to like reintegrate back into life. But everything that you guys are describing is what they share in the story. They talk about chakras in Pixar. Like the world is going to be okay. The world is going to be okay. So yeah, check out that movie. You'll both love it. I was sitting next to this lovely couple that just had like an all-inclusive trip in Mexico and literally just like so watch it, but probably alone and not on an airplane.
This might be a dumb question, but do they not play music during Bikram?
They do not.
Oh, okay.
They do
Oh,
not.
wow.
And it's interesting to like going through teacher training now with you guys, you know, doing a vinyasa style teacher training and having so much time spent in Bikram studios, you know, like the freedom that you have, I guess, as a vinyasa teacher compared to Bikram, which I mean, I don't really know anything about their teacher training. I would assume that they go through like history and philosophy and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to sequence, they're basically studying one book. They're kind of memorizing a 90-minute sequence, and that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no music. It's whatever, 106 degrees with, you know, whatever percent humidity. It's always, you know, it's always the exact same. If you go to a class, you're gonna hear the same language. Always, you know. And I like that. I still like it to this day. I'm looking forward to actually taking a class as one of my outside of Yoga 6 classes I have to take for the training. But yeah, no music, same. Yeah, it's interesting. It's different. I mean, it's the same every time, but it's different than vinyasa. I mean, it's
Right.
just, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think teachers that teach Bikram have not just the set sequence, but a script, right? So like the words that they're saying
Yeah.
are the same.
Yeah. I mean, I got the book, you know, shortly after the Bikram yoga book, and
Mhm.
you can read the book, and as you're reading the book, you can picture the class going on. If you've taken enough classes. Yeah. Actually, Elaine in Charlotte, she, you know, taught Bikram, and Tuesday mornings it was yin class and then Bikram right afterwards. So that was my double that week.
Mhm.
And the Bikram class on Tuesdays was silent. All she said was change, and you knew what
Wow.
to do. That was it. It was completely silent, and she would just, you know,
That's
yeah,
fascinating.
change. You'd rise up and just kind of go through the class. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome because it puts you in like feel like it works a different part of your brain
Yeah.
to have something memorized. Like if I think about what I have memorized, the hot sequence. So if I were to come in and just say change, right? Change and go through the hot sequence, like it would work. Yeah, it would be a completely different experience in
Right.
a completely different way. I feel like it would work my brain differently. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
Workshop idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
that's a
should
great.
try it.
Silent Y6 hot. All the
Yep.
OGs come in and you stand up in the front. When I picture a teacher at the front of a Bikram class just saying change, I see them in a dark throne, and I see them wearing a crown, and they're
Right.
looking sinister as fuck, and they're just saying change,
Yeah.
change,
Eating live frogs in
change.
between like Jabba the Hutt.
Oh my
I
God.
want to do that. I want to sit up in front of the class and just say change,
Well, you know, they don't,
change.
and that's another thing, like they don't, it's all like verbal assists that
Mhm.
they don't do hands-on. I mean, from my experience, I maybe some do, but from my experience, they don't. They don't really practice. They just walk around the room because I mean they have their script, you know, and all their adjustment cues, all that is in the script.
Mhm.
No kidding.
So
Yeah.
when did you think for the first time, when did you first think, I think I might want to do teacher training? And what kind of two questions in one? And then what made you decide to sign up when you did?
Okay, so probably after I broke my leg, and this is probably around 2014 or so, a couple of years afterwards. I was thinking about doing a yin yoga teacher training, and you know, to go do one that's, you know, whatever it is, 70 hours. I've looked them up. They're not as much as the 200-hour, but they're, in order to do that, I'd either would have had to do it online, which I don't even know if it was a thing back then, probably not, or go out to like the Pacific Northwest where they were having them.
Mhm.
And I didn't have the money, I didn't have the time cooking. I mean, you can't get any time off cooking. I couldn't like say, hey, I'm gonna go do a yoga teacher training for a month. I'll be back for my, you know, sous chef position or whatever.
Go fuck yourself.
So yeah, they'd be like, all right, yeah, go ahead and do that. You know, good luck. And so I just, you know, it was always in the back of my mind that I wanted to do it. And now coming here, meeting you guys, seeing other people go through it the last time, um, even then I was still working in restaurants. As you guys know, I'm a recovering restaurant worker, cook, chef, and there's just no time for that kind of stuff. I can't say, hey, I'm taking off, the next 10 weekends, the busiest days of the week. So I always told myself that I didn't want to be a cook. I didn't want to be in the kitchen anymore after I would turn 50 years old. Like, I don't want to do, I want to be the old guy in there, just losing my mind in the kitchen. So, yeah, I told myself I didn't want to be a cook when I was 50. I turned 47 this year. And for my birthday, I retired from restaurants, gave myself
Congrats.
that gift. And I got a job at Trader Joe's, shout out store 630, South Hills, Pittsburgh.
We love you.
And it allowed me kind of the ability to almost make my own schedule. I told them that I was interested in taking a yoga teacher training. They said, oh, that's awesome. You should definitely do that. We'll work around that schedule. And that's when I was like, I can fucking do it. So boom,
Yes.
there it is. I
That
Way to
finally
is
go,
had the
Trader
time,
Joe's.
the
Way to be a
ability
good
to-
employer.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
So, I mean, that really was it. I mean, I wanted to do it and just never thought I would have the time
Mm-hmm.
to do it, the ability schedule wise, being in the restaurant industry. But now, I mean, I have, they encourage it at
Mhm.
Trader Joe's. So like, yeah, please go do that. That's great.
That's
Become
why
a better person.
Sorry. Everyone that works at Trader Joe's seems happy. Like, I think I've told you this before, but I went in there one morning. It was like a Monday morning at 8 a.m. and I just dropped Maya off at school and I needed a couple things. And I go in and it's empty and everything was restocked, which is like glorious because usually you go in
that's
there and shit's
rare.
wiped out. Everything was stocked. And all of the employees, I swear to God, were literally whistling and dancing up and down the aisles. And
I
Come On
believe it.
Eileen was on the radio and everybody was just bebopping around. I was like, holy shit, the vibes are so good in here right now. And I try to get there now on Monday mornings because that was like the best Trader Joe's experience ever. I was like, what are they giving these people? They're so happy. And
Yeah.
now I know they're just overall like good employers.
They are. They really are. Yeah.
I've said this, Rick's heard me say this. I'm like, do they feed their employees mushrooms? Because like, there's just no way that many people are always that happy.
I'm not going to say
Right.
they don't.
Yeah, I can confirm they do not, but they let you do yoga teacher training, which makes you just as happy. During
Right.
the actual like strict quarantine times where the grocery store and the gas station was like the only place you could go, that's when I really realized that Trader Joe's was my happy place and that grocery shopping at a place like that is meditative for me. So whether it's empty or full or there's people in my way or I've got the whole thing to myself, I just absolutely love. One sec.
Yeah, I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, Trader Joe's is my happy place, and I'm so happy to know that they encourage yoga teacher training.
They did the pandemic right too. They were not like with the people at the door handing out sanitizing wipes and then ushering you at that place. They had their shit together,
They
and you
did.
could tell.
They did.
I have so many questions. Going way, way back. So your first experience at Bikram, and you were like, "This is a fucking nightmare." So
Yeah.
that's pretty much been everybody's explanation the first time they go to Bikram. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I here? And then they're like, but why do I feel so good? So
or any yoga class.
yeah, any yoga class. Exactly. They're all just like humbled and uncomfortable, but also like exhilarated and feeling like strong. And I always love the idea of how like yoga can equal parts humble you and make you feel like a fucking superhero at the same time. And I guess my question is, when did you go from feeling like walking into Bikram was like a dreadful thing to walking in and being like, wow, something clicked where this feels good and I feel like I know what I'm doing? Did it happen over time or did you just like one day realize, oh, like I got this?
Well, it definitely happened over time because at first I was going kind of sporadically, trying to get after that girl. At the one studio, that was the Minneapolis studio, but one of the teachers there opened another studio in St. Paul. So it was, a different one. The girl didn't go to that studio, so that became the place I went to, and that's when it became consistent. That's when I really started enjoying it. I mean, I would say though, yeah, I mean, immediately it is humbling, but like the next morning I'd wake up and somehow after like 3 classes, my posture was like really great. And, I mean, it's just kind of builds confidence. And I don't mean like cockiness, but just like, you just like in your body, you just feel good, and I mean, really, it grew from there, and it's got more comfortable. Like I got more comfortable with the heat. I think that was probably the biggest adjustment. I mean, if you're in a a regular room temperature class and you're doing Bikram, it's not going to be as strenuous. But all that, you're sweating so hard, and you don't even. Most people don't even bring water bottles in, from what I remember. You're just in there for 90 minutes sweating it out. I remember one teacher would be like, if you're thirsty, swallow your saliva. I was like,
Yeah, I don't think
so
you're allowed, for lack of a better word, allowed to drink water in there.
yeah, I
Jesus.
mean, yeah, it was bring your water bottle was not necessarily encouraged. I never had a bottle of water. I never even had a sweat towel. I would just wipe it off with my hands and fling it down the ground, But that heat also, I noticed after doing that consistently, being in a hot kitchen and cooking, I didn't sweat as much. My body became acclimated to the heat so well that, yeah, I would be in the kitchen and it would actually help that too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess because you're doing the same sequence over and over, it's not like they're throwing stuff at you all the time that's different. I mean, I think that helped too, because the heat's one thing, but like when I did that one vinyasa class, if I'd have gone to that 4 times in a row, was all different, I would have been totally discouraged. I probably would have never done it again and just walked away from yoga and been like, I can't do this. I found Bikram more accessible, I guess, than, yeah.
Which is funny because it's 106 degrees and very militant. And you're not allowed to have water, but
Right.
in your own way, it felt accessible to you because your body just, I think the cool thing about like a set sequence class is that you can feel the way your body is on day 1, and then you can feel the way your body is on day 30. And there's just like a really, really like tangible difference that you can actually feel and know that there's progress being made. So I think that's great. What's the other thing that's funny that you mentioned about being a chef in the hot kitchen and how the heat helped you actually acclimate to that? I never really thought about the fact that the exposure to the high heat regularly can actually like help you in other areas of your life, and just being being
Definitely.
definite on your feet all the time. Like I worked in restaurants too. I wasn't a chef. I was a server, but like you're on your feet. It's crazy. And the whole industry is bizarre. Everybody's chain smoking and drinking too much and not getting enough sleep. And it's overall like not a healthy industry to be in.
No, it's not.
So
Yeah.
it's like, it's something that, you as a restaurant worker, as a chef, like to find yoga, you should be screaming from the rooftops, like fellow restaurant workers, put down the
Oh,
whiskey.
I always do. I would
Go to
tell
yoga.
people all the time, you need to go to yoga. Oh, my back hurts. My low back hurts. Everything hurts. I'm like, I have zero pain. I mean, other than my knee, but that's not, that can't necessarily be helped. But I'm like, yeah, I feel strong. I feel all stretched out. You guys need to come here. I don't have any back pain, and I'm 20 years older than you are. What are you talking about right
Yeah.
now?
Mhm.
Come to class. Like, yeah, I'll come try it. And they never do.
They just
They
needed
go
a
out and get
girl
they
to
go out and
break
get
their
hammered
heart.
after work. And what's that?
They just needed a girl to break their heart. And,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
here's another question. The amount of things that men do to try to get women back are wild to me. Like that is such a motivating factor of like a man that would never want to do yoga in his life and then going to yoga to win a girl back. I just think that's hilarious. And great. But also, did she know that you were doing this, or unbeknownst to her, you just started a yoga journey based on her breaking
No,
your heart?
I mean, I think she knew. I didn't like go in and say, "Hey, I'm doing this because I want to," but I think she was
It's
aware.
obvious.
Yeah.
That's so funny. What was her name? Are we allowed to know?
Her name's Heidi.
Heidi.
Yeah.
Heidi. Hi, Heidi.
One-
I hope you're listening.
One of our past guests, Presley, she told me that her boyfriend, who's been her boyfriend for many years now, she was teaches solid core and celebrated so many
God.
milestones with him. And after his 250th class, he said, I don't really like this workout at all. I was just doing it to court you. So I'm going to cancel my membership. And she was like, you didn't have to come to 250 of them.
You could have told me after number 10, dude.
I think at that point,
That's funny.
they were like dating, like it already kind of been like she knew that, he liked her and she was into it, but he still waited until he got to 250 to be like, yeah, I'm going to cancel my membership. She's like, why did you take so many classes if you didn't like it? Like, for you, girl, for you. She just told me that a few days ago and I laughed so hard. So I have another question, kind of going back to what you were saying about how you try or have tried to encourage other service industry workers to get into yoga to help with all the things. I also used to
Yes.
work in the service industry, so I also understand getting off, going to get drinks with your coworkers, waking up hungover, and then doing it again the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sleeping till 2.
definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely
Good
challenging.
night or bad nights. You celebrate the victories and you commiserate after work. If it's a shitty night,
Amen.
go and get hammered and that's it.
I mean,
Start over the next day.
I can still go to Smoke and Joe's on the South Side, sit down to this day, and a Bell's Two Hearted will be placed right in front of me. I don't have to say. So
No shit.
yes.
You're
Shout
a
out
regular.
Alex. Shout out Alex. I love you. I miss you. And you should do yoga. Okay. So my question is, if you could go back to your younger self, as your future self, as your present self rather, and give your younger self advice in terms of how yoga is going to cultivate your life and bring you so many benefits, what advice would you give to your younger self, or what encouragement would you give to your younger self?
Well, first off, I would have not going back too far, but I would have gotten out of the restaurant business right when I broke my leg, and I would have probably just dug more into yoga because I love that, and it was a perfect opportunity to do it, but I didn't know that there were other opportunities out there as far as employment because it was the only thing that I knew. And fast forwarding to now, it's like there's all kinds of things I could do. I mean, quite honestly, I really don't give a shit about the money. I really don't. I mean, I don't really buy anything other than groceries. I don't, so that was never really a concern. I could have just quit my job a long time ago, and I didn't know that I could do that. I'd have gone back and said, dude, what are you doing to yourself? You're literally slowly killing yourself in this industry. I mean, yeah, I mean, that would be it. I would have gotten out of there a long time ago, done something else, and just focused more on my yoga.
I think that's a great answer and reminder to anyone that's listening, instead of, especially if you're in the service industry, instead of like, go do yoga. It's like, oh, well, I can't because I'm tired, I'm hungover, blah, 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 whatever. So it's like, okay, well, let's get to the root of not the issue, the root of the opportunity, which is that if you're happy and you found your groove in the service industry and you can do it in a healthy way with boundaries, amazing. Because I have a friend, Amanda Wilkerson, who does that. She comes to yoga all the time. She works in the service industry. She is a what is that? What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, she's made it work. But if you are in the service industry and you're like, you feel like you're at your wit's end, which is what happened to me and Rick, it sounds like, and you don't have time, space, energy, or money to do the things that light you up or to find the things that light you up and make you feel good, like you don't have to stay there. You're not stuck. You could literally do anything to make money. Walk away.
We talked to Tyler, Tub Club Tyler, and my friend Graham, and they both walked away from, and so did I, corporate jobs that were not serving them, mentally, physically, emotionally, all the things. And they all found their way. And I think everybody's thing, and what you said was, you didn't think you can because you rely on the paychecks and stuff. But what you realize is that you can adjust in a way where, yeah, you might not be able to buy as much dumb shit, but you also realize that what you were doing was wasting your money on dumb shit. And you were
Exactly.
continuing to work this job to buy random shit on Amazon that's going to clog up your house that you're going to give to Goodwill in 3 months. And instead, you could just not hate your life and just buy less shit. And that's not to count for everybody. Obviously, their circumstances are
Right.
different. But if you're truly unhappy in your job, you would probably be surprised to know that you could make it work in a way, at least for a temporary amount of time, that you could get out of that soul sucking situation you're in and try to get yourself to a place that makes you feel a little bit more fulfilled. So it's definitely doable. I think a lot of people feel stuck and they don't realize that there are ways that you can get unstuck, and it just takes a little bit of bravery and a little bit of, adjustments to your habits. And, I literally, when I left my full-time job and became a yoga teacher, I deleted the Amazon app off of my phone, and I didn't actually realize how much money I was spending on dumb shit on Amazon because I was bored or I could. So there are things that you could do, and the outcome of happiness and fulfillment is worth the adjusting of, not buying yourself that thing that you really think you need that's going to be clogging up your house or going in the trash in 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought, because being a cook, and I'm sure, I mean, this, translates across many different professions, but you spend so much time doing that one thing. I could be in the kitchen for 12 hours, and then you account time that you're sleep. I mean, I'm spending most of my time in the kitchen. I have no other skills. I can cook. It's a great skill to have, excellent skill to have, but it's the only thing. I don't know how to fix a car. I don't know anything about, fixing like plumbing or anything like that. So I'm like, I don't know what else I would do, not having any other skills. How does that translate to other professions? And that's how I found Trader Joe's. I'm like, well, they have, they sell food. I know about it. I can at least talk to people that are in there like, hey, what do you do with the celery? Put it in soup, whatever, but that worked out for me. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're unhappy, walk away. It's not worth what it does to you mentally to stay in it. And I kind of half joke, but I'm very serious when I say that I feel like I got out of a 25-year abusive relationship.
I believe that.
Yeah. And I feel so much different now. And it didn't take long. I had read some things about how people will have kind of go through a mourning process when they leave a career. Whether it's retirement or, they're just doing a career change, they kind of look back like, oh, I kind of wish I was still doing that. I have none of those thoughts. I am so glad that I haven't even barely been to a restaurant since I left. Aside from like going out of town and having to go to restaurants, I don't even go to them. I don't want to be anywhere around them. That's how much I don't want to be in it. Yeah.
When you
Sounds
let
like
go,
you made the right decision.
yeah, for sure. Because when you let go of things that aren't meant for you, you make space for all the things that are. And so many examples.
Juice. The
We're
juice.
squeezing the juice.
The fucking juice. When you let go of things not meant for you, you make space for things that are. Squeeze it, drink it, say it again.
It's like the Lady Gaga thing that's like beautiful, amazing, soul bursting, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, blend it up, drink it, shit on it, or shit it out, puke on it. She literally says
So wait, we still haven't even talked about yoga teacher training.
oh my gosh. Yeah.
So like, so far, what were your expectations versus the actuality of what's been going on? And tell the truth. Like, me and
We're not
Montana
your
did not create.
facilitators.
Yeah, we did not create the yoga teacher training. We're facilitating it, but we didn't create it. So like, what did you expect? What is not happening that you expected? What, go for it.
I actually really came in not with a lot of expectations. I was more concerned talking to the previous teacher trainees about being comfortable in the room, and everyone's saying, oh, you got to bring a desk. Yeah, like bring your lazy boy from the house. It's grueling on your body. And then after that first weekend, I was like, what are these people talking about? I mean, I'm just sitting here in Sphinx pose for 6 hours and I feel perfectly fine. No, aside from that, not a lot of expectations. I mean, kind of knowing that I'd be learning about yoga, history of yoga, philosophy. I think it's pretty much aligned with what I would have expected. Um, and I love it. I wish I could do it all the time. I can see a lot of value in when people go somewhere for like a month and like I don't want to say knock it out because I don't, I definitely don't want it to like rush through it. I want to enjoy it. But I can see a lot of value in that where you're with the people all the time and you can like bounce ideas off of each other. What I wasn't really expecting was the amount of homework. um, but it really isn't that bad. I mean, that's a lot of that's me managing my time, but it really isn't that much. It's some videos, the Heart of Yoga book. I mean, I really love reading that. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, I knew I would have to teach in front of people. That's why I'm there.
Yeah.
It's a little nerve wracking, but no, I mean, everything is pretty much, I guess, what I expected it to be.
You mentioned that after the first weekend, you felt like it was going by fast, and that was just the greatest compliment you could have given to May and I.
Oh my God, it is. It's
I was
going
like,
by
wow,
so
really?
fast.
I agree. I can't believe we're about to go into weekend 4, which will be
Yeah.
halfway. And you guys have already grown so much as individuals and as a group. And this container of trainees and humans is really, really special.
It really is.
I'm so grateful for each and every
The
one of you.
the way you all have come to, your yoga journey and your teaching journey, and the discussions that have been sparked by some of your questions, and just the way you all interact with each other, the authenticity that you're all bringing, it's like it's really it's I can't even form
Special.
words, but it's very special, and everybody's such a unique like light in their own way, and the way that you all interact with each other, it's kind of magical. And it's like I'm just gonna stop rambling. It's great. Me and
I
Montana
mean, it's
are
hard to
having a
put
great
into
time.
words. It's really hard to
It
put
is,
into words because,
because I
and
could see every single one of you being a teacher in a beautiful way
yes,
and bringing your own special thing to it. And I would take all of your classes and I would feel safe in them just because I know that you're like safe people. I can just feel the safety from all of you already before anything. And it just kind of, I think in a way we all feel that way. It's like the energy of a class or of a concert. I feel like there's a wavelength of safety that we're all feeling together that is making it really special.
It's interesting too how, I mean, after now coming up on our 4th weekend, how, we're all like, none of us, I mean, aside from a few, I mean, you might have taken classes with some people, but, I know Kristen, right?
yeah,
And because, we take a lot of the same classes, but do you really know these people? No. But being in there and just over time kind of becoming more comfortable, like I said, like the first weekend kind of felt like it was like the centering of class, like the
class.
introduction and kind of getting centered, and then the second part, we're all warmed up, we're getting comfortable with each other, and it's kind of progressing kind of like a yoga sequence would, getting working our way to the peak posture and then hopefully settling down.
Yeah, I love that metaphor. I would say that this week, like 4 and 5, and part of maybe 6, maybe
Or the
5 and
peak
6
postures.
are peak posture. Yeah, 5 and 6 are maybe peak posture.
Yeah.
Well, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go, you go, you go.
No, I don't remember what I was going to say.
Sorry.
That's all
How
right.
does it feel to be, in the minority in terms of being one of 2 men in a room full of 20 women? Has that been a thing for you at all, or are you comfortable with that?
I mean, I'm comfortable with it. It's weird. Don't get me wrong. It is weird. It's always been weird. Well, it's been weird since I started doing vinyasa. I will say, in doing Bikram, there's a higher percentage of men, I think, that do it, that take the practice, and I think there's a higher percentage of men that teach it. Being in the vinyasa, it's weird because I mean, there are days when I get there and I sit in my chair, which we need to get my name embroidered on that chair, by the way, in the lobby.
Yes, we do. Like a director's chair.
Exactly. And I'll look and I'm like, I scroll down to my name. I'm like, oh my God, I'm the only guy in class again, like this. And it's only weird at that moment. Like, once you start class, you're in your own head. It doesn't matter. Guys, go to class.
Yeah.
Just because there's a bunch of women in there, they don't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
They're not
We're
paying
not
any
doing
attention to you.
We're not doing blood sacrifices on the men that arrive.
No. Come in and do class. Yeah, it's a little weird because being the man, and envisioning you're in the class teaching a bunch of women, like, do they want to hear me teaching yoga? Don't they want, one of their own in there?
No, they will hear you.
Definitely.
But I think now, the more that I study it and everything, and I'm going to classes and whatever, it's a teacher. It's not, I'm a male teacher. I'm not a male yoga teacher trainee. I'm a yoga teacher trainee, and that's it.
Yeah.
I
Another,
think that's important for me to remember. I actually,
Mhm.
I was journaling, and I was I was working the demo station at Trader Joe's, and I had my journal back there. It was a slow afternoon, so I was writing in my journal, and the first thing I wrote down was, stop being so fucking hard on yourself. This isn't that big of a deal.
Preach.
You're going to yoga teacher training. Eventually you'll teach a class and it'll get better. It'll get better. It'll get better. You'll have bad days. You'll have really great days. And it'll always just be part of the thing. Everything's a learning, it's always a learning process throughout. We talk about the inquiry, right? And I just keep thinking about that. I think about back when I was a cooking student, when I was in cooking school. I didn't know everything then. I learned the very basics, the fundamentals. And I was thinking to myself, like, that's what I'm doing now.
yeah.
I don't need to have, 72,000 nadis memorized. I can, I can. Another thing I told myself was I need to start going to class more because, I've got all these great teachers at Yoga 6. I need to be there absorbing because I've kind of put my own practice aside, thinking I need to just like read this book. I need to like really study the yamas, the niyamas. I need to like memorize this stuff. But I don't need that right now. I need to be focusing on listening to you guys teach a class.
Yeah.
Because all that other stuff, philosophy and all that, is sprinkled into those classes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really trying now to just go to class and basically take and observe every class that I go to and listen to what all these wonderful teachers have to say.
That is more juice. Don't be hard on yourselves, yoga teachers, trainees, and current.
Yeah.
And also, you don't need to know everything.
You will
ever.
never know everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thousands of years worth of knowledge. There's no possible way, and you don't need to know all of it to be able to lead a safe and meaningful class.
Yeah. And with any thing that you're studying or, mastering, working on mastering, a book and research and study is only going to take you so far.
Exactly.
Experience is really
Bingo.
what's going to up level you.
100%.
So
Yeah.
I think your head's in the right place for sure. And it's a great reminder for everyone, including myself. Just like just do it. Just do the damn thing. Experience
Yep.
the thing. Learn from it. Oh, yeah. I feel really
Always
inspired.
learning, always learning.
Mm-hmm. So that brings us to our final question, Rick. Do you think yoga can change the world? Yes or no, and why?
Yes. I think, just since, and not that everybody needs to go through teacher training, but since I've been doing that, just in these first few weeks, I feel more positive. I think I've become a much better communicator. I noticed that at work. When we talk about the hands-on assist, I'm approaching my coworkers so that they can see me coming,
Yeah.
so that I'm not walking up and startling them as they're carrying, 50 pounds of carrots. Yeah. Especially the communication thing, just being better humans and taking better care of ourselves. I think taking better care of ourselves will help us take better care of each other.
Amen. Juice, squeeze.
When we feel better, we do better.
Yeah. I'm not, I since I started working at Trader Joe's as opposed to the restaurant, I mean, I don't ever dread going in there. I go in
Yeah.
there and it's like, it's positive. People there are positive. And it's good energy, being around good energy.
Yes, the medicine of all time, for sure.
So last but not least, we started reading the number or the guest number, their angel number from the angel number book, Mystic Michaela. So you are guest number 19, but I also want to read number 360.
That's special. My birthday's May 19th.
Ah,
Ooh.
wow. Look at that. I'm so happy about that. I also want to read number 360 because you said that the Trader Joe's in South Hill is store 360.
That's
So
right.
19 is take care. Show yourself love. In your smallest actions today, reflect self-love. In every action you carry out, understand that the universe will reflect it back in others' actions toward you. Create a to-do list of loving things that you'll do for yourself as you go about your day. Carry it with you and check it often.
Mm.
And
Lovely.
360 is prosperous growth. Learn from life. There is so much to be learned from your current situation, and your angels want you to take this opportunity to do just that. Journal about the lessons that you are coming up against now and how you can utilize them so as to foster a prosperous future.
It sounds like that's happening.
I know,
Sure
right?
does.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Sure does.
Well, Rick,
that's what happens when you make good decisions that make you feel better, that leave bad environments and you enter beautiful ones.
That's right.
That's what happens when you let go of things that aren't for you, so you make space for things that are. Full circle.
And do it sooner than later. Get out of those situations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please.
Dive. Also, not to keep talking about numbers, but it's 11/11 and we're finishing at 11/11. So
woohoo!
The universe is on our side. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us, Rick. I'm so happy that we were able to have you on here. Will you let everyone know? It's always so fun. Will you let everyone know where they can find you on Instagram? You post funny memes, or at least you'll send them to your friends.
I send them to you guys. I'm not sure how to do a group. I always send it to everybody. And then I'm like, do they think I'm just sending it to them? Like, is this weird? I'm at Ricky Joseph 76. I don't really post much, but there's pictures of me and food. There's pictures of food that I made.
See, we all love food and yoga.
Food, music, and yoga. Like, who wouldn't love those three things?
Yeah.
During COVID, there was a point where I was like, people were just posting random shit, right? Because they didn't have any time. So I've got these 2 envelopes that are just full of ticket stubs. So I started taking pictures of ticket stubs, and that's all I posted for a while. It was just concert ticket stubs that I went to. So those are on there if you're interested in what shows I've seen.
That's pretty cool. That's a great way to keep that memory.
I agree. Also, we have to discuss Bjork in Sweden, because Bjork is the weirdest person on the planet, and she's like Tom York, and they're both aliens. And I think that the two of them
do a song together.
Do they?
Yeah. I've seen it all. It's from the movie that she was in. Oh God. She's like an immigrant up in like Washington. It's a really sad
as soon
movie.
As we hang up, because those two would make weird, cool music babies together.
I wonder where Aquarius is in their birth charts.
All right, Montana, let's get Erin on the horn and ask her to run a full thing on Bjork and Tom York and see if they're compatible, or if they would be a toxic as fuck relationship. They probably would be.
Black or white. There would be no gray answer.
There would be no middle of the road. They would destroy each other, or they would ascend to another realm together. All right.
Well, thank you guys again. This was amazing. Rick,
thank you.
We will see you tomorrow in weekend 4.
All right. Sounds great.
Toodaloo. Bye.
Later.